Hello and welcome to Module 4 on Energy. My name is Ibrahim Zabi. I am a Senior Associate at the University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership. In today's session, we will dive into the world of energy consumption, explore different types of energy sources, and learn how shifting toward renewable energy impacts our future. The energy sector plays a critical role in the global economy and environmental sustainability, especially in the Middle East and Africa. As we discuss these concepts, keep in mind that energy consumption has far-reaching implications for development, the environment, and economic growth. By the end of this module, you will have a clear understanding of how global energy consumption is changing, the advantages and disadvantages of renewable and non-renewable energy sources, and how energy choices contribute to sustainable development. In this module, we will cover several important objectives. By the end of this module, you will understand the global energy consumption trends, identify renewable and non-renewable energy sources and explain their benefits and disadvantages, distinguish between terms such as renewable, sustainable, green, and clean energy, understand how energy consumption impacts sustainable development, and recognize the barriers that hinder the transition to renewable energy. These objectives are designed to give you a comprehensive view of the energy landscape with a focus on practical examples. It's time to have a conversation. Let's discuss what you already know about energy. Energy consumption has changed dramatically over the past few decades. Between 1990 and 2018, global energy supply increased by 65.6%, reaching 594 exajoules. This rapid growth was largely driven by emerging economies, particularly in Asia. For instance, China's total energy supply quadrupled during this period, and today China alone accounts for over 20% of global energy consumption. This rise in energy demand is a result of increasing industrialization, urbanization, and population growth in developing countries. As more people gain access to modern energy services, the demand for energy naturally increases. The global energy landscape is shifting from a focus on developed countries to emerging countries and economies, especially in Asia and Africa. In contrast, regions like Europe have seen their share of global energy consumption decrease. Europe's energy share dropped from 35.2% in 1990 to just 18.4% in 2018, a result of energy efficiency improvements and a shift towards greener energy sources. Overall, energy demand is rising, particularly in countries with growing economies, but this comes with a significant environmental cost. As populations growth and economies develop, energy demand increases year after year. This increased demand for energy, particularly in emerging markets, poses a major challenge for global sustainability efforts. Countries experiencing rapid growth must balance their need for energy with the need to reduce carbon emissions and transition to cleaner energy sources. Energy demand is rising in countries such as India, China, and Brazil, where populations are growing and more people are gaining access to electricity, transportation, and modern appliances. This demand will continue to grow unless we improve energy efficiency and make greater use of low carbon energy. However, growing energy consumption makes the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy more difficult. We will explore the potential solutions and strategies for addressing these challenges. But it's clear that the transition to renewable energy will require significant investment and innovation. Let's pause here for a moment to think about the role of countries with high energy consumption and what can be done to support global energy transition. Energy sources are classified into two main categories: renewables and non-renewables. Renewable energy sources are those that can replenish themselves naturally over time, such as solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal energy. These sources are sustainable because they do not deplete finite resources, and they produce little or no harmful emissions. On the other hand, non-renewable energy sources are limited and cannot be replenished within a human lifetime. These include fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas. Non-renewable resources have been the dominant sources of energy for centuries, but they come with environmental costs. One of the key challenges we face today is the need to transition from a reliance on renewable resources to renewable sources. This shift is critical for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and ensuring long-term energy sustainability. In the Middle East and Africa, many countries are rich in fossil fuels, particularly oil and natural gas. However, there is growing interest in renewable energy projects, especially solar power, as countries seek to diversify their energy mix and reduce their environmental impact. Now let's focus on fossil energy resources, which primarily refers to fossil fuels like oil, natural gas, and coal. In 2018, fossil fuels were responsible for around 89% of global CO2 emissions. Even though the world experienced a slight drop in fossil fuel demand during the COVID-19 pandemic, demand for these resources is expected to grow for at least another 5 to 10 years. Countries like China, the United States, and India are the largest consumers of fossil fuels, and their energy use is driving global emissions. To mitigate these environmental impacts, the world needs to transition to low carbon, cleaner, renewable energy sources. Crude oil is a liquid fossil fuel that is widely used to produce gasoline, diesel, and plastics. It is one of the most important energy sources in the modern world, especially for transportation. As of 2020, the global demand of crude oil reached 91 million barrels per day, and this number continues to rise. Oil is found in rocks beneath the Earth's surface and is extracted through wells. The largest producers of crude oil include the United States, Saudi Arabia, Russia, United Arab Emirates, and other countries. These countries play a significant role in the global energy market. Crude oil has some advantages: easy to transport, produces a lot of energy, and is reliable. But it also has major disadvantages, including its environmental impact. Coal is another major fossil fuel and is responsible for over one-third of the world's electricity. It plays a crucial role in industries such as steel production, which relies heavily on coal for energy. However, coal is also producing a lot of carbon dioxide per unit of energy than oil or natural gas. The demand for coal has been a key driver for rising CO2 emissions, with much of the global demand coming from Asia, particularly China. China is the world's largest consumer of coal, using it to power homes and industries across the country. Coal is a solid fossil fuel that forms from the remains of plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. It must be dug up from the ground through mining, which has significant environmental and health impacts. Mining coal releases methane, potent greenhouse gas, and burning coal releases not only CO2 emissions, but also other pollutants that contribute to the acid rain and respiratory illnesses. As of 2016, there were about 1.1 trillion tons of proven coal reserves left in the world, enough to last for approximately 133 years at current consumption levels. However, with its environmental and health impacts, many countries are working to phase out coal in favor of low carbon and cleaner energy sources. Natural gas is a fossil fuel that primarily consists of methane gas and other flammable hydrocarbons. It's widely used for heating homes, generating electricity, and even powering vehicles. Natural gas is found in underground reservoirs, often alongside oil. Some of the largest natural gas reserves are located in the Middle East, particularly in countries like Qatar, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Globally, natural gas accounted for nearly a quarter of the energy consumption in recent years, making it a critical component of the world's energy mix. In 2017, proven natural gas reserves around the world were estimated at about 6,923 trillion cubic feet. Based on current consumption rates, this translates into roughly 52 years' worth of supply. However, this number only reflects proven reserves. New technologies could uncover more reserves or improve how efficiently we extract natural gas. Let's break down the advantages and disadvantages of using natural gas. On the plus side, natural gas is cheaper than other fossil fuels. It has a high energy yield and it produces fewer air pollutants and less carbon dioxide than coal or oil. This makes it more environmentally friendly to other fossil fuels, especially when it comes to reducing air pollution. Natural gas can be used also for heating, electricity generation, cooking, and even as a fuel for vehicles. Its abundance, especially in the regions like the Middle East, makes it reliable and consistent energy source for both domestic use and export. However, natural gas also has its downsides. Despite being cleaner than coal, it is also a non-renewable resource, which means it contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. Methane, the primary component of natural gas, is a potent greenhouse gas over 25 times more effective than CO2 at trapping heat in the atmosphere over a 100-year period. Leaks from pipelines, storage facilities, and wells can release methane, offsetting the environmental benefits. Additionally, transporting natural gas, especially LNG, requires complex and expensive infrastructure. There are also safety risks, as natural gas is highly flammable and leaks can lead to fires or explosions. Green energy refers to energy that is generated from natural resources such as sunlight, wind, and water. It's often called clean, sustainable, or renewable energy because it replenishes naturally and has minimal impact on the environment. One of the key advantages of green energy is that does not produce toxic greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide during its generation. This means it causes little or no environmental harm compared to other fuels. By using green energy, we can significantly reduce harmful emissions like nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide, which are major contributors to air pollution. This reduction not only helps combat climate change, but also leads to substantial public health benefits by improving air quality and reducing respiratory illnesses. Green energy plays a vital role in our transition to a cleaner, more sustainable energy future. As we increase our reliance on renewable resources, we help offset the negative environmental impact of fossil fuels and other energy resources, ensuring a healthier planet for future generations. Now, let us start with solar energy. Solar energy is a powerful and clean source of energy generated by capturing sunlight using photovoltaic cells or a solar panel. This energy can be used to generate electricity, heat water, and power homes and businesses. The largest producers of solar energy are China, the United States, and India, among other countries. These countries have invested heavily in solar energy infrastructure, and their large-scale solar projects are helping to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. In the Middle East, the UAE has taken a leading role in solar energy production. The Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Solar Park in Dubai is the largest single-site solar park in the world, with a goal of producing 5,000 megawatts of power by 2030. This project represents a major step forward for the region, which is traditionally known for its oil exports, but is now embracing renewable energy as a way to diversify its economy. Solar energy has a huge potential, especially in regions with abundant sunlight like the Middle East. However, the challenge remains in improving energy storage technologies to ensure that solar power can be used even when the sun isn't shining. Solar energy has many advantages, which is why it's one of the fastest growing renewable energy sources. First and foremost, solar energy is renewable, meaning it will never run out. It also reduces electricity bills for consumers, especially in sunny regions where solar panels can generate a significant amount of power. Solar energy is versatile as it can be used to power everything from small homes to large industrial facilities. It's also a clean source of energy, producing no greenhouse gases during operation. However, solar energy has some disadvantages. It is weather dependent, meaning only generates power when the sun is shining. This can be a problem in regions with inconsistent sunlight. Solar energy storage is also expensive, and large solar farms require a lot of space to install the necessary panels. Additionally, while solar panels themselves produce no emissions, the manufacturing process for solar panels can have environmental impacts. However, as technology improves, the efficiency of the solar panels continues to increase, and the costs are steadily decreasing. Wind energy is another rapidly growing renewable energy source. It works by using wind turbines to capture the kinetic energy of moving air and convert it into electricity. Wind energy is clean, abundant, and like solar energy, renewable. Wind turbines can be installed on land, onshore, or in water bodies like seas and lakes offshore. Offshore wind farms have a much higher potential for energy generation than onshore farms, as they can capture stronger and more consistent winds. The amount of power that can be harvested from wind depends on the size of the turbine and the length of its blades. The technical potential for wind energy far exceeds global electricity production today, meaning wind energy could meet a much larger portion of our energy needs. China, the United States, and Germany are the largest producers of wind energy, but many other countries are quickly expanding their wind energy capacity. Wind energy is especially promising in coastal regions and areas with consistent wind patterns. Wind energy has many advantages. It's a clean fuel source, meaning it does not produce air pollutants or greenhouse gases. Wind energy is inexhaustible as it relies on wind, a natural resource that will never run out. Additionally, wind turbines come in a variety of sizes, allowing for flexibility in how they are deployed. Land under wind turbines can still be used for farming or grazing, making it space-efficient energy source. However, wind energy does come with disadvantages. Wind turbines can impact local wildlife. This can also cause noise pollution and may not be aesthetically pleasing, especially in residential areas. Another challenge is that wind energy is not always cost competitive with other energy sources, especially in regions with low wind speeds. Finally, wind energy depends on the presence of wind, which can be unpredictable. This means wind turbines may not always generate electricity when it needs most. To overcome this challenge, better energy storage solutions are needed. Hydropower or hydroelectric power is one of the oldest and most widely used sources of renewable energy. It generates electricity by using a dam or divergent structure to alter the natural flow of a river or other body of water. The force of the flowing water turns turbines, which generates electricity. Hydropower is reliable, renewable, and produces no greenhouse gas emissions during operation. It is also a highly efficient source of energy, with large-scale hydropower plants being capable of generating significant amounts of electricity. One example of hydropower in the Middle East is the Hatta Dam in the UAE, a 250 megawatt hydroelectric power station is being developed there to generate electricity using a water stored in the dam. The power station will have a storage capacity of 1,500 megawatt hour, allowing it to store and release electricity as needed. However, hydropower does have environmental impacts, especially when it involves building large dams. These dams can disrupt local ecosystems and affect the migration patterns of fish and other wildlife. Additionally, hydropower plants are expensive to build, and their construction can displace local communities. Biomass is a renewable energy source made from organic materials such as plants, agriculture, waste, and even animal manure. Biomass can be burned to produce heat or converted into biofuels like ethanol and biodiesel. which can be used to power vehicles or generate electricity. In many developing countries, especially in rural areas, biomass is a primary source of energy for cooking and heating. In Ethiopia, Congo, and Tanzania, for example, a large portion of households rely on biomass for their daily energy needs. One advantage of biomass is that it can help reduce waste by using materials that would otherwise be discarded. Additionally, biomass energy does not produce sulfur or mercury. However, there are downsides to using biomass as an energy source. Growing crops specifically for biomass energy can take up valuable land that could be used for food production. Additionally, burning biomass still produces air pollution, including carbon dioxide, which contributes to climate change. In some cases, the deforestation associated with biomass harvesting can have a negative impact on local ecosystems. Nuclear energy is a zero-emissions clean energy source that generates power through a process called fusion, which uranium atoms are split to release energy. This process produces a large amount of heat, which is then used to create steam and drive turbines to generate electricity. One of the key advantages of nuclear energy is that it does not produce any of the harmful pollutants associated with burning fuels. Today, nuclear power plants provide about 10% of the world's electricity. The United States, France, and China are the top producers of nuclear energy, and their investments in nuclear technology have helped reduce their reliance on other sources of fuels. However, nuclear energy also comes with significant challenges. The most pressing concern is the radioactive waste it produces, which remains hazardous for thousands of years. Managing and safely storing this waste is a complex and expensive process. Additionally, the risk of nuclear accidents, such as Fukushima disaster in Japan, has raised concerns about the safety of nuclear power plants. While nuclear energy is a powerful tool in the fight against climate change, the environmental and safety risks associated with it means that it must be used carefully and responsibly. Nuclear energy offers several advantages. First, it produces no air pollution and does not contribute to global warming. Nuclear power plants also have very low fuel costs compared with other fuels, making them cost-effective in the long run. Additionally, because nuclear power plants generate a large amount of electricity, they can provide a steady and reliable energy supply. However, there are also significant disadvantages to nuclear energy. The most obvious is the issue of radioactive waste, which is a highly dangerous and difficult to dispose of safely. Nuclear accidents, while rare, can be catastrophic. The Fukushima disaster in 2011 and the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 serve as reminder of the risks involved in operating nuclear power plants. Another drawback is the high cost of building and maintaining nuclear plants. While fuel costs are low, the capital investment required to construct and decommission a nuclear plant is extremely high. There are also concerns about nuclear proliferations, as the material used in nuclear reactors could potentially be used to develop nuclear weapons. Despite these challenges, nuclear energy remains a critical part of the global energy mix, especially for countries looking to reduce their carbon emissions without relying heavily on other fossil fuels.